This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, am I audible? Is my screen visible to everyone? Okay. Okay, so let's get started. And yesterday, this means in last class, we just a minute, guys. Okay, so in last class, we were discussing, how what are the different properties of instance variable, static variable, and local variable. What are the different properties of static variable and static method and non-static method, and how to call these properties. So we got to know that whenever you are required to call non-static property anywhere, you should use object of the class. If you are required to call static property anywhere, you should use the class name. And to call a local variable, you should call that local variable directly in the method. So anybody have any doubts in this? Anybody have any doubts?
Sir,
Yes,
sir,
yes.
for this one, I was trying with this static variable and this the instance variable. So with
Mhm.
the object name also, I was able to access this the static variable, sir. But it was showing me the warning.
Yes, so basically you can access static property using object as well. But when you will try to, access static property, whether you are calling static method or static variable using object, you will get a warning from the compiler saying that you should call a static property in a static way. And the static way to call a static property means the correct way to call a static property is always use class name. So
Okay.
whenever you will try to call any static property using object, you will be able to do so. You will not get any issue neither at runtime or compile time, but you will get a warning by compiler saying that you should call the static property in a correct manner, which is using class name.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else having any doubt? Yes, no, anything? Okay, so let's get continue with the topic. So today we are going to, talk about loops. So loops, if else, while loop, do while loop, break, continue, all these things we are going to talk today. So can anybody tell me what are different loops in Java available? For loop, okay. Anything else? While, for, while, do while, okay. If else, do while, okay. Okay, so we have many things like we have if, we have if else, we have if else if, means nested if else. Then we have for loop, while, do while. Then you must have heard about the break and continue. No, continue. Similarly, we have through as well. So these are different. You must have used. So we have used return as well to return values from the method. So basically, all these things we have. All these different keywords available, different functionalities available. So remember one thing, all these are not loops. Okay, all these are not loops. So there are few categories which you should remember. So before we discuss this the categories that we have in Java for all these things, we will categorize all these things. Can you tell me why we use if else, or why we use for loop, why we use while, why we use break or continue, or when we use these different functionalities? Can anybody tell me when we use any of these, or why we use any of these? Okay, anyone have any idea about this? Continuous iteration. Okay, for condition, if else to check condition. Okay, for conditional statements. Okay, basically these are known as, okay, yeah, iteration, to do, repeat, task. Okay, so you must have uh, noticed these things previously as well, that we use any of these to control the execution of the flow of the code. Like, let's say I have written few line of code, anything that I have written. Okay, let's say I have written many statements, and what I want, that from line number 5 to line number 8, I want to control the execution of these lines. When should I execute them, and when should I not execute them? How many times I should execute these number of lines? I want to control that. So you must have, uh, seen this, that in if else, let's say for if else, in if else, what happens? Let's say I have a if statement where I'm putting some condition. I have some curly braces where I will write few quotes, and then I have a else body. So in this, you must know that in if else, if the condition is true, the if body will be executed, but if the condition is false, else body will be executed. But again, the execution is getting controlled by the user by defining some conditions. Whatever condition we will apply here, based on that, the execution will be controlled. Either the if block will be executed or the else block will be executed. Yes or no? Similarly, let's say for loop, let's say I'm writing a for loop. Here what I want to, let's say, uh, print the value of I for 10 times, from starting from 1 to 10. But again, if you see the thing that I have written here, I'm controlling the execution of the code. That I'm controlling that this particular line of code, which is available on line number 4, should execute it 10 times from the value 1 to 10. But again, I'm controlling the statement in a way. Yes or no? Yes. So these are nothing but these are used to control the execution of the flow. Based on the requirement, we put some conditions, and based on the conditions, the execution will happen. But again, because user is defining the conditions, that's why we say that user do the control statement using any of these functionality. So when we are talking, or when we are learning about these things, these are known as control statements in Java. These are nothing but control statements in Java. And basically, control statements in Java are defined or categorized into 3 parts. First category is selection statement. I'll tell you what all come in the selection statements. Then the second category is iterative statements, or also known as loops. And the third category that we have is selection statement, iterative statement, and one more statements. That's the category that we have is selection, iteration, and what we say. Okay, we'll talk about. I am not getting the third category name exactly. Transfer statements. Transfer statements. Now under selection statements, we have if. I'll tell you why these are under selection statement or what exactly mean by selection statement. We'll discuss that. Please be with me for this. We have if else also under this, then if else if or nested if else, and also switch comes under switch case under selection statement. Okay, under iterative statements, which is also known as loops, we have for loop, we have while loop, we have a do while loop, and then we have for each, or also known as enhanced for loop. So we have all these statements under iterative statements category. And then we have the third category, which is transfer statements, and under this we have return keyword, then we have break under this, continue, and through as well. Now we have all these different statements. Now understand why these are under these different statements. So first of all, selection statements. Now selection statements means that whatever code you will write using these things, either you are using if else or switch case, a particular code of statement will be executed. For example, let us understand this particular code. Let's say I'm saying if, let's say, let me change the language first. Okay, let us say I have a variable here, int I is equal to, let's say 10, and I'm saying if I is equal to 10, I will say print anything. Let's say value of I is 10, else I will print say value of I is not equal to. Now understand this. Tell me what will be executed here. If block or else block? If block. Of course. Why? Because the value of I is 10, and the condition that we have put here is if I is equal to 10, I'll print this, or else this will be printed. But based on the condition that I have put here, we all know that the if block will be executed. So here, tell me which block of statement will be selected while execution. I'm again repeating. Tell me which block of code will be selected during execution, the if block or the else block. If block. So here what is happening? Selection of statement is being performed. Either this code will be selected, or whatever code that you have in the if block, that will be selected during the execution and get executed, or the else part will be selected and will be executed. Similarly, same thing happens in switch case. If you know switch case, we'll discuss switch case in detail in a few minutes. So in switch case also, one of the case will be executed based on the matching. So that there also selection happens. So whenever you are required to perform selection, like based on some condition, I will be selected a particular line of codes. Either this code will be executed or that code will be executed. But selection, if selection is required, selection means not all code you are required to execute. A particular selected code you need to execute based on some conditions. So if selection is required, if particular block should be selected based on some condition, then you should use any of the selection statement. And basically in selection statement we have three things: if else, switch case. Okay, all these are selection statement. And remember one thing, selection statement, whether you are using if else, nested if else or switch case, iteration will not happen. Like if I execute this code, this particular thing, that value of 10, I is 10 will not get executed multiple times. No, here iteration will not happen. Here the loop will not execute it. Yes or no? Only once the code will be executed. Either this code will get executed or this code will get executed, but only once. Do not get confused. Selection statement does not perform or does not behave like loops, like for loop, where the same code will be executed multiple times. Like while loop, based on condition, the same code might be getting executed multiple times. That does not happen with the selection statement. I hope you understand these particular thing, and we are going to do hands-on with this in few minutes. So anybody have any doubts with selection statement? No doubt. Now come to the iterative statement or loops. So by the name you can understand that these will be behaving like loops. So basically in Java we have four loops. So do not name if else or switch case. If someone asks that, tell me what all loops we have in Java. So if somebody is asking, tell me what all loops we have in Java. So we have these four loops. Which one is faster, if or switch? Switch is faster as compared to if. But if for me means I prefer to use if else more as compared to switch, because I'm more used to and I feel more comfortable while using if else. But execution wise, switch is much faster as compared to if else. But there are some limitations to switch case which we'll discuss in some time. Now all these are loops with us: for loop, while loop, do while loop, for each, or enhanced for loop. All these codes, all these statements will be used to execute few lines of code multiple times based on the condition that you are putting. So all these loops have different syntax, which will we discuss in few minutes. Now we have transfer statements as well. Now by the name you can understand that these statements will be used to return something or transfer something. Basically transfer some value, transfer the execution somewhere. So we have already discussed return, where we have used return keyword. Can anybody tell me where we have used return? In methods, to return value from a method. Yes or no? Yes, to return value. Similarly, break will discuss. Break is used to break the execution of the loop. Similarly, we'll discuss continue today only, but throw we are going to talk about throw when we will be talking about exception handling. So we'll discuss throw keyword during exception handling class. So we are not going to talk about throw keyword today because you will not understand anything. So first of all, we will have to go through the exception handling things, and then we'll discuss throw keyword there. So we are not going to talk about throw keyword today. So delete this. Similarly, return keyword we have already discussed during method examples. So we are not going to discuss return keyword also. So these are the things that we are going to discuss today. So first of all, just the syntax. So basically these are very simple things which you must have used sometimes. So we'll just go through the syntax and few important things which you should remember. So first of all, see the syntax of if. So the syntax of if is very simple. You have to use a keyword if, then a parenthesis, and then a semicolon, sorry, curly braces. Okay, and in the parenthesis of this if, you have to put a condition. Okay, you have to put a condition, and whenever we say condition, condition means some boolean expression, means whatever expression you are putting here, the result of that expression must be a boolean value, either true or false. Okay, and remember one thing, if the condition that you have put here, if the condition returns you true, if the condition is true, then only if block will be executed. But if condition is false, the if block will not be executed at all. Okay, so if block get executed only if the condition is true. Okay. Yes or no? Just a minute, guys. Just a minute. Now I have a question for you guys. Is it mandatory to use else block if you are using if block? Is it mandatory that if you are using if, then else should be there? Saud is saying no. Anybody else have any other answer? No? Yes. It is not mandatory at all that if you are using if, you should use else. This is not mandatory at all. You know, many a times, I mean, most of the time you will be using only if block. Many a times, most of the times, you will be using only if block based on the requirement. So it is not mandatory at all that if you're using if block else should be there. No, this is not the case in Java. Okay. So just see this code. So can we give where you want to give? No, this is not possible in if block because you are putting semicolon in between these different line of code, means you are providing different statement, and the output of this will not be boolean value. So here whatever you are putting, the output of the complete statement must be a boolean value. This you cannot use in if. It will be used, this is used in for loop generally. Okay. So let's say let's say I have a variable int I whose value is 11, and I'm saying if I mod, sorry, if I mod 2 is equal to 0, let's say just a simple statement I'll write. If I is less than 10, I will simply print I will print I is less than 10. A simple example, not a complex example. So what will happen here? What will be the output here? Else. Else तो मैंने लिखा ही नहीं है रणबीर. I have not put here. I have not used else here. Tell me the output of the code that I have written. I don't want to change my statement. Whatever statement we have, what will happen? Nothing will happen. It will execute. It will get executed, but nothing will happen. Okay. Why? Let me execute this. This code got executed, but nothing got printed on the console. Why? Because if you see, the value of I is 11. Then I'm saying if I is less than 10. So what will be the output of this particular statement? Whatever I have selected, what will be the output of this expression? I less than 10. What will be the output of this expression? That is selected here. False. And we know that if the condition provided to the if is false, the if block will never be get executed. So nothing is getting happened. But let me say, like, let's say the value of I is 9. Now what will be happen? This will get printed. I is less than 10. Why? Because this time this condition is going to return me true. So this is what, or this is how if block executes, or this is how if behaves. That whatever condition you have put here, and let's say I'm saying something like this. I'm saying I is equal to 10. So I'm getting a compile time error here. Can anybody tell me why I'm getting this error? I'm getting an error here. Why this error is coming? Yes, because this expression is not going to provide me any Boolean value. It is just simple. I'm assigning some value. I'm assigning 10 inside I. So value will get assigned, but no, data type is not missing. Sorry. Why data type is missing? It is telling you type mismatch cannot convert from int to Boolean. Basically, if requires a Boolean condition, but here the output of this expression will not be a Boolean value. It's just that you are assigning 10 inside I. Only the assignment will happen. Nothing will be written as a true or false. So remember one thing, that whatever condition you are putting or whatever code you are writing in the parenthesis of the if block, the output of the block must be a Boolean value. Understood? Anybody have any doubt? Please ask quickly. Now I have it. Let's say I'm again changing the statement to I less than 10. Now tell me, is this curly braces important or mandatory to be used while defining a if block? Is it mandatory to use the curly braces while defining a if block? Is it mandatory, or what will happen if I remove the curly braces? Okay, nothing will happen. Let's say I'm removing this curly braces. Nothing happened. No issues at all. Okay, no issues at all. We run this. You can see the if block is getting executed. Can you see this? The if block got executed. No issues at all. Okay, but then there is a condition here, and that condition is very important. And this is why, sir, this is how it is defined. Okay, Ranveer, in Java, in if block, adding the curly or having the curly braces in the if block is not mandatory. No, it does not consider the main method curly. Main method curly braces will be used by main method only. Okay, I'll tell you what happened here. Now Hema is saying that no, still we can use else. Without having curly braces, we can use else. So we'll come to else part. Do not worry about that. Okay. Now Hema is saying that what will happen if something like this we are using. If I is equal to 10, what will happen here? Again, this expression is going to return me either true or false. Yes or no? I'm verifying a value where I'm saying I is equal to 10. I'm verifying, I'm checking that is the value of I is equal to 10. So either this will return me true or this will return me false. But there is no compile time error. Why? Because this expression that is available in the if block is going to provide me either true or false. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes, of course. Okay. So Hema, I think you got your answer. Now what I was telling, yes, curly braces. Coming to the curly braces. Now in Java, while you are defining a if block, having the curly braces is not mandatory. But then there are some limitations. The limitation is that if you are not adding or if you are not using curly braces for the if block, then only one statement will be considered as the if block part. I'm again repeating you. if you are not using curly braces to define a if block, then there will be no issues at all, neither at compile time nor at the runtime. But only one statement will be considered, or the first statement will be considered as the part of the if block. Let me take one example here. So let us have like this: I is equal to, if this is thing, I'll print value of I is equal to 10. Okay, then I have one more println statement where I'll say end of the. Now here you can see that I have defined a if block. I have not used the curly braces, and I have multiple statement, which looks like that these all statements are inside the if block. Okay, it looks like that all these two statements are inside if block, but this is not the case, because I have told you guys that if you are not using curly braces, then only the first statement after the if will be considered as the part of the if block. Like in this case, if I execute this program, so what will happen? You can see the value of I is 9, and then I'm checking I is equal to 10. So what will be the output of this statement, true or false? False. Okay, so what will happen? If the condition of the if is false, then no output, no means the if block should not be executed. But if you execute this program, see the output first, and then we can discuss this. So what got executed? End of the code. So what is the conclusion here? What can you conclude here by looking at the output? What you can say, which means line number 10 got executed. No, we are not. Why you are confused, Ranveer? Have I used else here? Without using else, how you can say that else got executed or else part is it? Have some, apply some logics. If you are not writing something, how can that be considered at all? Means how you can say that this is a part of else? This is not a part of else. Okay, because we have not used else keyword. Okay, so what happens? Whatever line of code you can write here, but whatever is the first line of statement after the if, that will be considered as the part of the if block, which means in this case only line number 9 is inside the if block. Only this particular statement is inside the if block. Line number 10 does not have any relation to this if block. It is independent of the if block. This statement which is highlighted, that is available on line number 10. Line number 10, whatever code I have written on line number 10, that code is independent of the if block. It has no relation with the if. If this line number 10 is outside of the if block. Okay, it does not have anything related to if. Whether if condition is true or false does not matter. Line number 10 will always be executed. Why? Because this line number 10 will not be considered as the part of the if block. Understood? So whether this condition is true or whether this condition is false does not matter. In Java, if you are not applying curly braces while defining the if block, only the first statement after the if will be considered as the part of the if block. That's it. Like in this, which line of code is inside the if block? Only line number 9. Absolutely. Only line number 9 is inside the if block. Line number 10 is independent. It has no relation with the if block. Now tell me which line of code is inside the if block. Now this saying 14, line number 14. Yes, because spaces does not have any meaning in Java. Still line number 14 is the part of the if block, because when we compile, the class file will not have spaces. Okay, So line number 14 is still inside the if block. Okay. Now let me do one thing. Let me change the value of I to 10. So what will happen now? What will happen now? Both will get executed. Why? Because now the condition will be true. Then line number 9 will be executed. And line number 10 is every time it will get executed, line number 10. It has no relation to the if block. So now you can see that if block is also getting executed and all the code is getting executed. And this is something like this. Virtually, this is what we can say, that this is independent of the if block. This is not inside the if block. So if you are not applying curly braces, you have to take care of this. Anybody have any doubt here? Anybody have any doubt quickly? Yes, I will suggest always use curly braces so that you should not get confused. Okay. Sometimes what happens if you are not using curly braces, you sometimes get confused. So I always prefer to use curly braces, irrespective how many line of code I have in the if block or in the else block. I always prefer to use curly braces, always. Okay. So I will request you guys also should use curly braces. It does not make any difference. Only two curly braces you have to apply. So better is to use curly braces. Okay. Now, but there is one more condition. The condition is that you must remember one thing, and then now there is a interview question which is used very frequently. If you are not applying curly braces while declaring if block, then we all know that now that only first statement will be considered as the part of the if block. I hope nobody have any doubt to this. But if you are not using curly braces and you know that only first line of code after the if block will be considered as the part of the if block, then that single statement must not be a variable declaration. I am again repeating it. If you are not using curly braces to define the if block, then you can use, or then you can have only one statement in the if block, and that one statement must not be a variable declaration. This is not allowed in Java. I don't know why. I have not never tried to go in depth why this is not possible, but this is not possible at all. Let me show you what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is that here I'm not using any curly braces, so this is not possible at all. You can see you are getting a curly braces. Okay, sorry, you are getting a compile time error. Why? Because here you can see I have not used curly braces. So only line number 9 is considered or is the part of the if block. But because curly braces is missing, I cannot declare a variable inside the if block. You cannot declare a new variable inside a if block. It is saying I hope compiler error still comes if curly braces are used. No, compiler error will not come. You can see no compiler error is there. Is there any compiler error, Dheeraj? Okay, so it comes only if you are not using curly braces, then the error will come. Okay, you can see error is coming. Okay, it must be a predefined variable, means you can assign value. Like if you see I'm saying int k, and here I'm assigning a value only, then this is possible. I'm assigning a value, then this is possible. I'm not declaring a new variable here. Why? Because the variable is already being defined, declared. I'm just assigning a value to the variable, but you cannot declare a new variable at all. So this you must be remember, and this is frequently asked in the interview. What will be the output of this? So simple compile time error will come. Okay. Anybody have any doubt? Quickly. Yes, Hema, if you are not using curly braces, then you cannot declare a new variable in the if block. Okay, if you are not using curly braces, but if you have curly braces, then there will be no issues. Okay, any doubts to anyone? No. Okay, great. Yes, Devakar, you have any doubt? Yes, you can use. Yes, Rajat, you can use n number of statement in a if block, n number of statement. If you have curly braces, then you can have millions of statement, does not matter, and all will be considered as the if block. But you should use curly braces then. Okay. Devakar, the session got started by 9:10, I think. I don't know, it might be problem at your end, Divakar, because most of the guys are joining from the laptop only. Okay. Okay, next is if else. Okay. So let's say let me write one more class here. Let me have a new package here. So I'll create a new package. Uh, I'll say selection statements. Okay, if else example. So just see the syntax first, and then we'll see some examples. So if else is again very simple, similar to if. We have if else again. So in the if, you will add some condition, then curly braces. Preferred is always use curly braces, then else block. Okay, but the syntax of if else is that the condition will always come with the if. Else does not contain condition. You cannot have a parenthesis here, and you cannot add any condition here with the else as well. No, condition does not comes with else. Condition will always be with the if block only. The condition will always be the if. Like if you see here, just say, so let's say I have a variable here whose value is, let's say, 10, and what I'm doing here, I'm saying I mod 2 equal to 0. If this is the case, I'll say I is even, else I'll say I is odd. Okay, so basically I'm trying to divide the value, or whatever value I contains, with 2. Okay, and if the mod means remainder is 0, which means the value is even number. Okay, if the value is not divided by 2 completely, then we'll say I is odd number. So what will be the output here right now? Even number. Why? Because currently the value of I is 10. When we will apply mod with I, we'll get 0, which will be compared successfully with 0. So we'll get true for this condition, and because the condition is true here, if block will be executed. But remember one thing: if the condition is false, in case of if else body will be executed automatically. But else executes only in case condition is false. Remember one thing, let us first execute this code and see the output. So right now it says I is even number. Let me change the value to 11. So you will see it says I is odd number because this time 11 mod 2 will not be equal to 0. Okay. Now remember one thing. In case of if else, either the if will get executed or the else will be executed. It will never happen that both is getting executed. Both if and else both is getting executed. This can never happen in Java. Either the if block will execute or the else block will execute, okay, at a time, because selection is going to happen. Either the if block will get selected during the execution or the else block will get executed during the selection. Okay, but remember one thing, else will be executed only if the condition returns you false. If the condition is false, only then else will be executed. If the condition is true, always the if block will be executed. Anybody have any doubt here? Clear? No. I have a question. Can I use else only without having if block? What will happen if I remove the if block from here? I want to have only else block. I don't want to have if block. So will this happen or will I get a compile time error? Not possible at all. If you are using else, then before else you must use if block. Okay, else must be preceded by if block. Okay, there should be nothing between if and else. Like I cannot do something like this. This is not possible at all, because if you are using else must, sorry, if you are using else must be preceded by if block only. Nothing else can be between if and else. Nothing can be between if and else. If you want to use else must be preceded by if only. You cannot use anything in between this. So this is not possible at all. If you want to use else must be preceded by if block. And if you want to use else, there must be an if block. Okay, this is not possible because else can come only if there is a if block. So these are the things that you have to remember. Okay, anybody have any doubt? Yeah. Okay. Now let us see if else if statement. Create a new class. If else. Let's see one example here. Int size is a variable whose value, let's say right now, is 4. And here I'm saying if size is less than equal to 10, I will print size is small. Else if size is greater than 10 and size is less than equal to 15, I am saying size is medium. Else say print size is large. Now see this example, and these are very simple things which is very easy to understand. So this is an example of if else if, nested if else. Okay, if else if. Nested if else means you are using if else within if else. Okay, that is a different thing that we will use in coming classes. So here what I'm doing, I have a variable size whose value can be anything. Like it can be 1, it can be 100, it can be 1000, anything, any value can apply to this variable. And what I'm doing here, I'm saying if size is less than equal to 10. So I'm verifying here whether the size is small, medium, and large. So based on the code that I have written, you can see that I'm saying that if the size is between 1 to 10 or less than 10 or less than equal to 10, I'll say the size is small. If the value of the size is between 11 to 15, I'm saying size is medium. And if size is more than 15, I'll say this size is large. So this is how you are going to use if else if. Like here, if you can see, first of all, if I execute this program, what will happen? First of all, main method will be called. Then this variable will be declared. Okay. Then this condition will be verified. Now, if the condition gets successful and if it returns true, only this if block will be executed and nothing else. Means if this block is getting executed, these blocks will not get executed. Why? Because although we are using if here, but again, this if is a part of this else. So if we know that if the if block will be executed, the else are not going to execute at all. But if this condition is not true, if the condition is false, means this if is not going to execute, then this else block will be tried to execute. And then again, there is a condition verifying. You are again having a if here. So remember one thing, if you want to use if with else, there has to be a space between them. You cannot have something like this. Else if will not work for you. Else space if. And the condition must be with if only. Okay, if you want to have a condition with else, then with else you have to use one if on also. Okay, so in this case, remember one thing, either this block will get execute or this block will get execute or this block will get execute based on the condition value that you have. Remember one thing, if the first condition return you true, means if this is true, only this if block will be executed. If this condition is false, then this condition will be verified. Now if this condition returns you true, this else will be executed and this will not get executed. But again, if this condition is again false, then this else will be executed automatically, because with this else block we don't have any condition, we are not verifying any condition. If these two blocks are not getting executed, then this else will be executed mandatory. But if any of these blocks are getting executed, then this block will not get executed. So I hope this is, you guys are understanding. Anybody have any doubts here? Ranveer, can you elaborate your question? Extra large, you can have any conditions. I am not saying that only these different categories are possible. You can have any condition. Let's say after 20, if the value is between 16 to 20 or 16 to 25, then large. If the value is more than 25, you can say extra large. Again, you have to add one more if else if. Okay, Ranveer? Yes, you can write else if without curly braces, but again, only one statement will be allowed. Okay, so better is to use curly braces always. Okay, anybody have any other doubts? So you can have n number of else if else. You can have n number of else if else. How many times you can use? There is no limitations, Mujahid. Everything depends upon the requirement. Okay, let's say we have, if we would have, if we would have different kind of categories, let's say from 1 to 5, small, 6 to 10, medium, 11 to 15, large, 16 to 20, extra large. So you can have any number of requirements, conditions, and based on that you have to apply, if you have to use if else. Again, there is no hard and fast rule. Everything depends upon the requirement. No, else you cannot have parenthesis with else. It is not possible. You cannot use small brackets with else. No, this is not possible, Rajat. You cannot have parenthesis with else. Okay, if I try to add parenthesis here, you will get compile time error. Parentheses are not allowed. Parenthesis means small brackets. These are not allowed with the else. You cannot use parenthesis with else. Okay, Rajat? So right now what will get printed? You can see size is small. If I change the value, let's say the value is 11, then medium should get printed. So you can see size is medium is getting printed. Let me change the value from, let's say we have 110. So large will be the output. So I hope this is clear to everyone. Yes or no? Doubts to anyone? Am I saying what happened if we remove the braces for line number 11 and line number 13? Okay, so this curly braces belongs to this curly braces. So curly braces has to be in pair. You cannot have one curly braces. Every curly braces must be have a closing curly braces. Okay, Hema? You cannot have only the opening curly braces. No. If you have one curly braces, it must be closed by your second curly braces. So if you have a curly braces at line number 9, you must close this curly braces. So this is opening curly braces. This is the closing curly braces. So this you have to take care that if you have a curly braces, it must be closed by a second curly braces. So you cannot remove curly braces from line number 11 or line number 13. You will get compile time error. Why? Because for this curly braces, there is no closing curly braces. Okay, so you have to take care of this. Every opening curly braces must be closed by a closing curly braces. Any other doubts? Now we'll next move to the switch case. Again, very rarely used, but as it is available, you have to learn this also. Understand the syntax first, then yes, Rahul, ask your question. Yes. Let's say if you are removing this this curly braces from if, then also if this condition is true, this if block will be executed always. Like let's say the value right now is 1. So in this case, this condition will return me true. So this will get executed. But again, I cannot have more than one statement here. No, this is not possible. Because for now, if I do so, now this else does not have a preceding if block. Because the if block is finishing here only, line number 10 only. Which means now this else does not have any preceding if block. So this is not possible. So you have to take care of these things. If I execute this program right now, you can see only the first if is getting executed. Because in case of multiple if else, if any of the if or if any of the else will be executed, that will be the end of the if else. Okay.
I'm so sorry. I still have one more question out here. So let's say line number 7, if the value is set as 14, 1, 4, and let's say if we don't have line number 10 at all, and in that case, this else if it gets executed.
No, now there is a compile time error. Because if you are not using curly braces, then there has to be at least one statement within the if block.
Okay.
So for this else, this if is not getting finished anywhere. Understanding my point? For this else, there is no if, because you don't have any statement. First of all, you don't have the curly braces, which means there are some limitation. So in case of if else, if you are not having any curly braces in the if block, then there
Uh-huh.
has to be at least one statement in the if block. Otherwise, this else will not work. You will get compiled error.
Okay. And let's say if we bring back that statement soon after line
Hmm.
number, yes. And now in this case, basically line number 12, all uh, the code which is there in line number 13 will get printed, which is size is medium.
Executed. Yes.
But
Yes.
then the thing is that line number 12, it is having else if.
Hmm.
So is it part of the nested if else condition,
So
or is it
nested means, let's say we are saying nested if else. Nested if else means if else within if else. Something like this.
correct?
Something like this I have. So this is an example of nested if else, because this if else is inside a if. But here we are not using nested if else. This is a chain of if else if else. Okay.
Okay,
Now understand my requirement first. My requirement was that you have a variable, you have a value with you. Okay. That value will start from 1 till infinity. It can be 1, it can be 100, it can be 1 million, 1 billion, anything. The value can be anything. What I
mhm,
want is that whatever value you have, verify, and based on the value you should print whether the value is small or medium or it is large. Now what are the condition? As per the requirement, my requirement was that if the value is between 1 to 10, then you should understand that the value is small. Similarly, if the value is between 11 to 15, then this means that the value is medium, and if the value is more than 15, which means it is large. Just an example, for example, now this is my requirement. Now understand this requirement very carefully. Forget about the code right now. Understand this requirement very carefully. You have three different categories which you have to recognize whether my value is small or my value is medium or my value is large. It depends upon some condition. So which means if you want to make sure the value is small or medium or large, you have to verify some condition. And what are those conditions? The conditions as per the requirement is this: if the value is between 1 to 10, means value is small, means there is a condition. If the value is between 11 to 15, the value is medium, and the condition for large is more than 15. Okay. Now, a value can be either small, or a value can be medium, or a value can be large. It is not at all possible that a value can be all. It can be, means a value can never be small and medium both. A value can never be small and large both. A value can never be small, medium, large, all. Is this possible? Not at all. A value can be a small value, or it can be a medium value, or it can be a large value. So here you are required to do a selection based on condition. And whenever in Java you are required to do selection of code based on some condition, then you must use the selection statement. That's why these are the categories. Based on the requirement, you will finalize whether you need to use selection statement, or you need to use iterative statement, or you should use transfer statement. Depends upon the requirement. Here my requirement is select. Either I will print small, or I need to select medium, or I need to select large, but based on some conditions. So that's why I used if else. Okay.
okay.
First of all, understand why if else we are using. Okay. Now coming to your point. if I do something like this, I can do this also. This is also possible. Okay, let me do not have any else, only I have is if statement. Okay, so first of all, see the output, and then we'll discuss what was the difference between when we were using if else, and now when we only have if, what is the difference between these two approaches. First, see the output. Output will be correct. Right now you're getting small. If I change the value to 11, you will get medium. So medium you are getting. If I change the value from 11 to 21, you will get large. So you're getting large. Again, the output is correct, but now there is a flaw. There is a issue with your code. What is that issue? Understand this code very properly. Now in this situation, the code that I have written, irrespective that which block is getting executed, all the condition will be checked at the runtime. Means I want to say is that, let's say this first condition returns me true, which means small will get printed, but still this if block will be verified, this condition will be verified, and this condition will be verified also, which should not be there, because we know that if the value is small, we have printed that size small, then there is no reason that we should execute these things. But in case of if these are independent if block, these different if block do not have any relation with each other. Like else has a relation with if, because else is related to if, but these are independent if block. All these statement will be executed. Let's say right now the value is 11. So what will happen? If this code will be executed, first of all this condition will be verified, so this will return me false. This condition will be verified, this will return me true, so this will get printed. Yet again this condition will also be verified. Why? Because this if does not have relation to this if. This if does not depends upon the previous if blocks. Why? Because if blocks have no relation to the other if blocks. Understanding my point?
Yep. So this is very clear.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it will take more time. It will take more time. Now it will take more time because all these if block will be verified. Whether these are getting executed or not are different thing, but the condition uh, matching will be happening, which will take some time. Now if I apply else here also and here also, in this case these if else are interrelated to each other. Means this else is related to this if block, and this else block is related to the all if else block above to this else block, which means if this if block gets executed, these else block will not be executed, and the condition also will not be verified. Let's say this condition returns me true, sorry, false. In that case this condition will be verified. Now let's say this condition returns you true, which means this if else will be executed, but if this got executed, this will not be executed, and this condition will also not be verified. So what will happen? You will save sometimes. It might be in milliseconds, but again in large application these small things matter a lot. So I hope now you guys understand what is the benefit of using if else. Means we can do the same thing using if only, but again it will take more time. So now I know, I think you guys are understanding these things. Okay.
Yep. All good. Thank you.
Anybody have any doubt here? No doubts? Okay. Now come to the switch case. Coming to the switch case. Now understanding the syntax of switch is very important. Once you understand the syntax, then we will take some examples. Okay, let us do one thing. We'll take an example and then we'll understand the syntax. So basically switch has two things. Switch is a keyword. After switch, you have to add a parenthesis and then a curly braces. Okay, and inside switch you must use cases. Different cases you can use. Okay, you can have different cases. We'll come to why this error is coming, because after case we should have a value. So we'll come to this later. Now understand this very carefully. Like in if block, in if the parenthesis for the if, we add a expression which will return you either true or false, means you apply condition. But in case of switch, you have to add an expression here. Basically, you have to supply a variable here. Whatever variable or whatever expression you are writing, the output of the variable or the expression should not be Boolean at all. You cannot put the condition here in the switch. Switch does not accept Boolean value. Okay, there are limitations in switch case. Switch accepts only integer values. Either it can be byte, dot, int or long. Integer values, string, and char values. That's it. And enum as well. But switch cannot accept Boolean value. Switch cannot accept double value. For example, let us take one example and then we'll understand the switch syntax in detail. Let's say I have a variable int day whose value can be between 1 to 7. Okay, any value it can have, but only from 1 to 7. Now my requirement is if day is equal to 1, I should print, let's say, Monday. If day is equal to 2, I should print Tuesday. Something like this we are required to do. Based on the value, we should print which day today we have. If day is 3, we should print Wednesday. For day 4, if the value of day is 4, we should print Thursday, so on. This is what you are required to do. Okay. Now, similarly, for day is equal to 3, you should print Wednesday. Something like this. Till Sunday, you have to do this. Now, can we do this using IfElse? Can we perform this task using IfElse? Yes or no? Dheeraj is saying yes. Manjeet is saying yes. Everybody is saying yes. Anybody who thinks that this is not possible using IfElse? Of course, this is possible. Very simple. We'll say if day is equal to 1, I will say print Monday. Then what after this? What after this I should write here? Else if. Yes, else if. Not only else, else if. So I'll say else if day is equal to 2, I will print Tuesday. Similarly, you have to write 7 if else. Yes or no? So will you guys be able to do this? So just take this as an assignment. Perform this task at your machine using if else. Okay, using if else, see, things are simple. It's just that I have to write few more else if. Okay, so I hope you will be able to do this. So this is what you have to do at your local machine. So just try to perform this task using IfElse. But now I'm going to use SwitchCase because we already know how to use IfElse. Now we want to learn SwitchCase. So learn how SwitchCase works here. So what I'll do, I'll write switch parenthesis and I'll pass day variable here. So what type of value day contains? Integer type of value. So switch accepts int values, basically integer values, string, char, enum. Enum is a different thing which we'll try to cover in coming class, not today. Remember one thing, you cannot have a variable whose value is Boolean or a double value. No, this is not possible. If I change this day to double, switch will return you error. And see what it says. Only convertible int values, strings, enums values are permitted. So any value which is in category of integer, so byte, short, int, long you can use, or string you can pass. Character also you can pass because character can be converted into integer with the ASCII value. Okay, and enum you can use, but you cannot use double. So these are the things, these are the limitations with switch. So that's why very rarely we use switch. Float also not possible. Decimal values you cannot pass with the switch statement, because you cannot store decimal values into integer variable. Okay, now then I'm saying case 1. Let me write the statement and then we'll discuss the code. Let me first complete my switch case and then we'll discuss the syntax. Case 3, case 4, case 5, case 6. One more case I have to write. So let's say case 7, because the value of day can be from 1 to 7. So I'll say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. Now understand the syntax very carefully. Focus here. How switch case works? Just understand this very carefully. Now, the value of the day is 2. So what will happen? As we are passing a variable, whatever is the value of this variable, that will be passed to the switch. And based on the requirements, we know that the value of day can be between 1 to 7, which means we have 7 cases. Either the value of the day can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 7 values are possible, because in a week we have only 7 days. Yes or no? So based on the logic and requirement, we got to know that we have only 7 cases possible. The value of the day can be 1, or it can be 2, it can be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it, because we have only 7 days in a week. Okay, so that's why I wrote 7 cases here. Now case 1, case 2 does not means the number of cases. Case 1 means matching value. Whatever value you are writing after case, that has to be the possible value of the switch case, because in a week we have only 7 days, so the value of the day can be between 1 to 7. So case 1 does not mean this is the first case. No, case 1 is the possible value for this variable day. Case 2 is the possible value. Case 3 means 3 is possible for the variable day. Case 4 means value 4 is also possible for the variable day. Case 5 means 5 is also possible for the variable day. Day can be 5 also. Day 6, day 7. So these values after the case are the possible values. And this is not mandatory that these has to be in the sequence. No, this is not mandatory at all. Case 2 can come before case 1. So this is possible. So this case 2 does not mean this is the second case. No, case 2 means this 2 is also one of the possible value for this variable. Case 7 means 7 is also possible, one of the possible value for this day variable. So I hope you guys are understanding with this cases that we have here. Anybody have any doubts as of now? Any doubts till now? Anyone have any doubts till now? I'm again repeating, if we give 10 to the variable day 10, okay, if the value for the variable day is 10, what will happen? None of these case will be matched. Why? Because we have only 7 case. The value of 10 is the value of days 10. So what will happen? The matching will happen. 1 is not equal to 10, 2 is not equal to 10, 3 is not equal to 10, 4 is not equal to 10. Similarly, none of the value that we have in the cases matches with the 10. So what will happen? No case will match to the value. So nothing will happen. There will be no error neither at compile time nor at the runtime. It's just that nothing will get printed because no case get matched. Okay. Okay. So let us Can we skip any case? What if we declare the variable as char? Do we have to use the case? Yes, the value has to be in the single quotes. Then we'll come to that part. The worker will take one example for the char as well. Okay. No, if the value is 10, 10 does not, 10 will not be matched to any of the case. So no case will get executed. Okay. Rajat is saying, can we skip any case? What is the logic to skip any case? Because ultimately only one of the case will get executed. It's not like that. There will be no situation where we are required to run more than one cases. No, because again, switch case is a selection statement. Selection statement means only one code should be selected while execution. Because if you see the example, in a week, a day can be either Monday or a day can be a Tuesday, or it can be a Wednesday. It is not possible that same day can be Monday and Tuesday both. Is it possible logically? So there is no chance to execute multiple case. Only one case should be executed. And why we should skip any of the case? There is no point to skip any case. You will never feel that requirement at all. Okay, we can do that, but you will never be required to skip any case. Okay, so let us do one thing. Let me have the value as a 7. Let us see what is the output. What is getting printed? Sunday. Why? Because case 7 got matched with the value of the day variable. Because this case has value 7, the value for the variable day is also 7. So basically this case is matching to the switch, and this statement will get executed. Till now, anybody have any doubt in this switch case statement? Okay. No. Yes, you can hard code these things. You can hard code as well. But again, if the value is hard coded, every time the same output will be, you will get. Okay, this is possible. Okay, but again, the value must be either integer value or a string value or a enum. Okay, Rajat. Okay, let me change the value of days to 2. Yes, Shivani, that is also possible. We'll come to the string example as well. Let us first complete this example, and then we'll come to the string and one of the example for character as well. Okay, we'll come to that. Now see the output. Can you see the output? Monday did not get printed. Why? Because case 1 does not get matched. Then once the Tuesday got executed, all of the cases got executed. Means Wednesday is also printed, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, everything got printed after Tuesday. So can anybody tell me why this is happening here? Yeah, basically break statement we have to do. The problem, there is a problem, with switch case. What happens in switch case, that if any of the cases got matched, then that has to be executed automatically. But after that, every case will get executed without matching the, or without comparing the value that we have provided in the switch statement. I'm again repeating you, this listen to this very carefully. In case of switch case, if any of the case got executed or any of the case got matched, that case will be executed, that is has to be there. But after that case, all the cases will be executed without comparing the value. This is the problem with the switch case. So that's why we are being told that you should use a switch break with after every cases, because in switch case this is the problem. I don't know why they have made this. I don't know why. I have never tried to go in depth why they had this kind of functionality to the switch case. But as of now, you should remember that this is the problem with this switch case. If any of the switch is, if any of the case is getting matched, all of the cases after that will be executed if you don't apply break statement. But how it was taking based on case? Based on case means, look, right now the value of the day is 2. So what will happen? Which case has the value matching to this day variable? Tell me. Which case has the matching value to this day variable? Case 2. Because this case has 2. This variable also the value for this variable is 2. Getting matched. So this will be executed completely. But after this, every case will be executed. So it will execute now the things in a sequential way. Means whatever comes after this case, everything will be whatever comes after this case too, everything will be executed without verifying anything. Okay, Ranbir, anybody have any other doubts till now? Okay. So now what I'll do, after every case I'll add a break statement. What is the alternative of switch statement? Of course, the if else. The best approach, I always prefer to use if else. But again, if else is, sorry, switch is faster as compared to if else. But again, there is a limitations to the switch. We'll talk about that in a minute. Just wait for that. Just adding break after every case, at the end of every case, so that only a particular case that is getting matched should be executed. Now see, now again executed, you will see only Tuesday is getting printed. Why? Because this case got matched. So what will happen? This case will be executed, so Tuesday is getting printed, and then we have break. And what this break will do, this break will transfer the statement. I'm again repeating this. What will happen once the break statement will be executed? This break will transfer the execution outside this switch block. So again, as we know that break is a transfer statement. What break statement does? Break transfer the execution outside of a switch or outside of a loop, because break can be used only with switch or with loop. It's not like that you can use break anywhere. No, we'll see that example also. You should remember that break can be used only with switch statement or with loops. Which all loops? For while, do while, and for each loop. We can use break with those 4 loops and with switch statement, within switch statement only. So what will break do? Break will transfer the execution outside of the switch statement, which means switch statement will be terminated as soon as any of the break statement will be executed. Let me change the value of day to 5. So in case this, only Friday should be printed. So you can see Friday is getting printed. Okay. Now let us see, I am passing a value which does not have any matching case, like I am passing 8. So 8. So no case will get executed here. So you will not see any output here. So the program is getting executed, but because no case is getting matched, you are not able to see any output here. So if none of the case is getting matched, you will not get any error, neither at compile time nor at the run times. Okay. So sometimes what happens, Yeah, sometimes you are required to execute some default statements. Default statement means, like, sometimes it might be possible that you want that if none of these case is getting matched, I should execute a kind of default statement which should get executed only if none of the case is getting matched. Okay, so in that case you can use a default statement. Default statement. Default is a part of switch. Default is a keyword which is a part of switch case only. You cannot use default elsewhere. So default keyword is used only with the switch case only. So what I'll do, I'll just say in the default statement, I'll just execute, I'll say none of the cases got matched. Okay. Yes, it's just like the else statement. If is not getting executed, else will get executed. Similarly, if none of the cases is getting executed, the default will get executed automatically. So here you can see default is getting executed. Why? Because none of the cases got matched. But if any of the case is getting executed, the default will never get executed. Just see this. Here only case 2 got executed. Default will not get executed. Anybody have any doubt? Any doubt till now? Quickly. Okay, so Manjit is saying, okay, first of all, Rajat has a question, sir. For default statement, we don't need curly brackets. Now, curly brackets in switch case are extremely optional. You can have or you don't have, that's not matter. With switch, you should have a curly braces, but within cases, curly braces is optional. If you are not using curly braces, then also you can have a number of statement in any of the cases. Like in case 1, see this in case 2. I can have multiple statement, more than one statement I can have. I'll say case 2 got executed and see the output. So you can see whatever you have written in the case, everything is getting executed. So here there is no limitation that only one statement can be used without curly braces. There is nothing like this. If you want to have curly braces, you can add curly braces after the cases. If you don't want, you can ignore also. So curly braces in case of switch case is completely optional. Okay, Rajat. Manjit is asking, even if we don't have break statement, then also default will not be executed. No, it will then execute it if you don't have break. Like let's say I'm removing the break from case 7 and I'm putting the value 7. So just see the output. The default is getting executed. Why? Because switch has a problem that if you have not applied break, it will continue to execute in a sequential way till the end of the switch comes. That is a big problem, big issue with this switch case. So you should have break after at the end of every case. You should not forget to add break at the end of any of the case. Otherwise issue will come. Any other doubt? Anybody have any doubt? Other doubts? Now I have a question. Can I use default at the end only, or can I have the default anywhere in the switch case? Right now you can see I have added the default at the end of the switch case. So my question is that Anywhere. Anywhere we can use default, but again then there is a problem. Let's say I am having a default statement in between, let's say 4 and 5, something like this. Now let me change the value to 9. So if the value is 9, we know that none of the cases will be matched. So just see the output. Can you tell me what is this issue? Value was 9 for the variable day, so none of the case got matched. So default got executed, but after default you can see Friday is getting printed. Why?
Sir, because it came out of a switch case, and the rest of the code will execute it.
Yeah, I will repeat this again. There is a problem with the switch case. If any of the case got matched, or if the default got executed, okay, if either the cases are getting executed or the default is getting executed. If default is getting executed here, that is fine, but after default, at the end of the default, you do not have the break statement. So remember one thing, if you are using default in between somewhere or at the top or at the beginning of the case, then you should have break at the end of the default statement as well. Otherwise, whatever comes in the path of the switch case, it will execute everything. That is a big problem with the switch case. So right now, as we are using default in between, we should have break here. Okay, so better it is recommended that you should have, default at the end. It is recommended. This is not mandatory, but again, if you are using default statement, if you have default in between somewhere or in the beginning of the switch case, then you should have break inside default as well. Okay. I hope this is clear to everyone. Clear? This is clear. Okay, now just quickly we'll see one example for the string as well, how we can use a string with switch case. So for the same example, just change the example in a bit. So what I'll do, I'll commit everything. Now let us say instead of day as an integer variable, let us say day we have is string value. Let's say we have Monday. So if the day is Monday, we should print 1. If the day is Tuesday, we should print 2. If the day is Wednesday, we should print 3. Like this we have to do. So whatever we have did right now, this is just a vice versa to the problem that we did before this question. So this might be possible that you might require to use string as well with the switch case. So how we are going to do this? Just see here. Simple, very simple. So I'll say switch. Then first case. What can be the first day of a week? Monday. Okay. It is not mandatory, but again, I'll begin with the first day of the week. So I'll say Monday, but not like this. This is not possible. Why? Because the variable that you are passing is in the form of string. The variable that you are passing, or the value that you are passing to the switch, is a string value, which means if the value you have passed to the switch is a string, then after case you must have a string value only. Okay, so here the value that you are passing to switch is a string, then here also in case the value should be a string value. So here also we will have to use Monday like this. Print first day of week, something like this. Anything. It is not mandatory that println also should have the string value. You can print 1. Similar case 2. What is the case 2? Tuesday. Adding colon is mandatory after every case. Okay, do not forget to have colon after case. I'll say 2, then case 3, which is case Wednesday. So this is how you can use I hope you guys will be able to use string as well whenever required. Yes or no? Do not forget to have break after every statement, after every case, or at the end of the every case. So you can continue with this. Similarly, if you are passing a character value here in the switch, then whatever value you are putting here must be in a single quote. So this is how you can use character as well. Okay. So I hope you guys will be able to do so. Yes or no? Yes, these values are case sensitive. Like if the value of, like, let's say we are using capital M here, then none of the case will got matched because Java is a case sensitive language. Okay, Manjit? I'm again telling these things. Java is a case sensitive, so you have to take care of that. So in that case, you have to take care of few things, but again, it depends upon the requirement. Okay. Any doubts till now? Okay. Now let us discuss the difference between IfElse or switch. There is no difference, but there is a limitation. How? Just see this example. Like we took this example and we solved this problem with IfElse. The problem was that if the value is between 1 to 10, we should print small. If the value is between 11 to 15, we should print medium. And if the value is more than 15, we should print large. This is possible, and this we solved using IfElse. Now tell me, can you solve this problem using switch case? Can we solve this problem using switch case? Why, Ranveer, why this is not possible? Condition means, yes, the number of cases will be more, and it is not possible at all because the cases will be infinitive. Because more than 15 can be anything. Yes or no? More than 15 means 16 is also more than 15. 1 billion is also more than 15. So if this is the case, how many cases you can write? It is not possible to put range in the cases because the number of cases are infinitive in this case. I hope you will agree with me. You all will agree with me because more than 15 can be anything. Then there is no limit. Then this is not possible to put infinitive things in a case. How many cases we can write? Because there are n number of, we have to write n number of cases. Let us say I wrote till 1000 cases. If the value of the size is 10,000, then again my problem, my code will not work. Okay, so if range is there and if the range is big, you should always prefer IfElse. If the range is very small, the number of cases are very small, limited cases, 5, 10 cases, then only go with switch case. Otherwise, always prefer IfElse. No need to use switch case then. Remember one thing, go for switch case because switch case is faster as compared to IfElse, but only if the number of cases are very less. If you can see if the cases are getting large, do not waste your time in writing so many of cases. Okay, because the number of line will be increased, the number of cases will be increased, it will take more time for you to write the code. So better is to use IfElse, and I personally always prefer switch IfElse. I always use IfElse. Okay, so I hope no issues with this. Clear, everyone? How switch faster? Because in switch condition is not, means here in IfElse you provide some expression. Like in this, if you can see there is a condition. First of all, this condition will be matched, then this condition will be matched, then whatever is the output of both of these conditions, that will become added to the and then the final output will come of this all the condition. So it will take some time to verify the conditions. Yes or no? Because the condition that you are putting can be a big expression. So it might take some times. But in case of switch case, there is no condition. Directly the value comparison will happen. Comparison value is much faster as compared to having logical condition based expression. So that's why switch is faster. No, we cannot use less than greater than, because if you are going to use less than greater than, it will provide you value in a boolean. Okay, Ranbir. The relational operator, whether you are using less than or greater than, relational operator will return you the final value will be in boolean, and switch does not accept boolean value. Okay, Ranbir. Anybody have any other doubt? No.
Hello?
Yes,
Sir, my voice is clear.
your voice is not that, I'm not able to hear you properly.
Yes, sir. What I want to ask, sir, can we use like case 1 to 5, 6 or 6 to 7, like that we can use? Or one by one we have to use case 1, case 2, case 3?
One by one you have to write. You have to write every possible cases based on the requirement. It is not mandatory that cases should be in sequence, like case 1 then only case 2. No, sequence does not matter, but all possible cases you have to think and you have to write. Okay. Anybody have any other doubt? Please ask. I hope no doubts. So let us move further and we'll start with the iterative statements, loops. So we are going to talk about only one loop today, which is for loop, and then the rest of the thing we'll discuss tomorrow. I hope. So for loop example. So can anybody tell me the syntax of a for loop? Syntax of a for loop? Or initialization condition increment. So something like this. First of all, initialization, then a semicolon, then some condition, then a semicolon, then increment, and then the curly braces. Okay, like something like this. Int I is equal to 1. Then the condition, let us say the condition is I less than equal to 10, and I'm increasing the value of I by 1. And then what I'm doing, printing the value of I. So if I execute this, you can see value of I is getting printed from 1 to 10. Okay, I hope everybody knows the how sequence, how for loop executes. To understand the execution very carefully, this is very important, you know. So first of all, understand this. This is the three statement that we have right here. Because whenever you have semicolon in Java, semicolon means end of the statement. After semicolon, you have another statement, which means here whatever code I have selected, we have three statements here. The first statement is this, which is initialization. We are declaring a new variable and we are assigning a value to this variable. This is the first statement. Then this is the second statement, which is a condition. We are verifying, we are checking some condition here. Condition means we are checking the value of I, we are matching something. And then we are increasing the value. This is the third statement. So basically we require three statements in a for loop. This is the initialization part, this is the condition part, and this is the increment part. Okay. So when this code will, if I execute this program, so what will happen? This for loop will execute. So how this execution will happen? First of all, in the first iteration, this initialization will happen. In the first iteration, this initialization part will get executed and a variable I will get created and with a value 1. After initialization, condition checking will happen. So we'll check whether I is less than equal to 10 or not. So first of all, the value of I is in the first iteration, the value of I is 1. So it will check whether 1 is less than equal to 10 or not. So if the condition returns you true, the for loop will get executed. If the condition is false, or as soon as the condition is false, the for loop will get terminated and it will not execute anymore. I'm again repeating this, that as soon as the condition will be false, the for loop will be terminated. So let's say this condition got executed and we got true. So after condition checking, for loop body will be executed. So whatever line of code you have written inside the for loop, that will get executed. After body execution, this part will be executed, the last part, the increment that we have written here. After increment, again condition checking, for loop body execution, increment, condition checking, body execution, increment, condition checking, body execution. This is how a for loop gets executed, which means initialization part will be executed only once. Initialization part will be executed only once in the first iteration only. That's it. After first iteration, this part will never get executed because initialization part executes only one time in the first iteration. Okay, Hema has a question. Can we separate the increment value? Separate means? Yes, you can write I plus plus in line number 10. You can remove it from here and you can write something like this here. You can do this, but again, this semicolon must be here. Okay, semicolon must be here. Okay. Anybody have any other doubts till now? Anybody have any other doubts? Okay. Now this is the final thing that we are learning today. Then we'll continue with tomorrow's session. Tell me out of this syntax, which all things are mandatory here? Is initialization mandatory? Condition is mandatory. Increment is mandatory. What all things are mandatory here in a for loop? Can anybody tell me? Like we are doing initialization, we are checking the condition. We have increment, decrement. What all are mandatory here to define a for loop correctly? Ranbir is saying all. Hema will come to the output. We'll come to your question, Hema. Rajat is saying initialization is mandatory. Rahul is saying curly braces is mandatory. Okay, understand this. To complete the syntax of a for loop, for keyword must be there. Parenthesis means small brackets must be there. Curly braces must be there. And we should have two semicolon here. That's it. This is the complete syntax of a for loop. This is a correct, appropriate syntax. But having parenthesis here is mandatory and two semicolon should be there. Neither one, neither three, only two semicolon. You cannot have only one state. If I have only one semicolon, I will get a compile time error. Two semicolon and only two, not more than two. Initialization not at all mandatory. Condition is not at all mandatory. Increment decrement is also not at all mandatory. Now tell me what will be the output of this statement, this for loop. If I execute this program, what will happen? Yes, this is what I am asking, Ranveer. What will happen here? What will be the output of this program? Hi will get printed how many times? How many times hi will get printed? Infinite times? Why infinite times? Okay, see the output. this will continue to iterate it, this will continue to execute it. We have a infinite loop here. So we have to terminate this program forcefully. Okay, so I will terminate it forcefully, otherwise it will keep running, it will keep executing. Because understand this, whenever you are writing a for loop, understand this, we have two semicolon here. Before the first semicolon, this part where the cursor is blinking, the point where the cursor is blinking, where is my cursor? That is used for initialization. The second means between the two semicolon, this is used for condition. And this is generally used for increment decrement. Remember one thing, if you don't have any condition, in the for loop, JVM will consider as an infinite loop. So sometimes it is required for us to write a infinite loop. Sometimes it will be required for you also. I have to create many a times I have to create infinite loops. So whenever you want to create an infinite loop, you can use something like this. You can have a for loop without a condition here in between the two semicolon. If you don't have anything between these two semicolon, which means no condition is there, which means JVM will treat this loop as an infinite loop. Something like this. Just see here. I have an initialization. I am increasing the value of I as well, and I'm printing the value of I. But because I don't have a condition in the for loop, this will keep executing infinite times because I don't have any condition. So remember one thing, having only two semicolon is mandatory to complete the syntax of a for loop. But again, don't want infinite loop always. So we'll practice this tomorrow and we'll try to finish the loop within half an hour, and then we'll begin with the arrays. Plan for next 3 sessions. Tomorrow we'll continue with the loops, then we'll start with array. Once the array is done, we'll start with the oops. If oops will it will take at least 3 classes for me to complete oops concept, 3 or 4 classes. And then we'll take the exception handling, collections, string, so and file handling. So oops is the thing that will take more time, 3-4 classes, and rest of the thing will take 1 or 2 classes. Okay, because this is the first time I'm taking online class, so it is taking this speed is slow a bit. It has to be much faster, but again, because I'm taking online classes first time and most of you guys don't have exposure to Java, I'm keeping my pace slow so that I do not get overhead, and you should understand the thing that I want to deliver here. So that's why I'm keeping my pace a bit slow. So I hope this is okay with you. No worries. Okay, but Rahul Arora is getting worried. He's asking me when I'm going to finish these classes because he needs to start this the Selenium. But again, I'll take my time. I want you guys to be familiar before you begin with the Selenium. So that's why I'm keeping my pace slow. Okay, so that's it for today. We'll continue tomorrow and we'll